May I say the invocation first, please?
Sorry. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Arjuna Vacha Sanyasasya Mahabaho Tattvam. Wait, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Are we reading from 25 onwards or?
Oh, yes. We finished 25 yesterday, so we're starting 26 today, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
So we'll go from 26 to 50.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Yash.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Mukta Sangona Hambadi Dirti Utsaha Samanvitaha Siddhi Asiddhayor Nirvirkaha Karta Satvika Uchyate.
One who performs his duty without association with the modes of material nature, without false ego, with great determination and enthusiasm, and without wavering in success or failure, is said to be a worker in the mode of goodness.
Ragi Karma Phala Plepsur Lubdo Himsat Makot Suchihi Harsha Shokanvitaha Karta Rajasaha Parikiritaha.
The worker who is attached to work and the fruits of work, desiring to enjoy those fruits, and who is greedy, always envious, impure, and moved by joy and sorrow, is said to be in the mode of passion.
Ayuktaha Prakrita Stabda Shato Neshkrito Lasaha Vishadi Dirga Shuticha Karta Tamasa Uchite.
The worker who is always engaged in work against the injunctions of the scripture, who is materialistic, obstinate, cheating, and expert in insulting others, and who is lazy, always morose, and procrastinating, is said to be a worker in the mode of ignorance.
Buddhir Bedam Jitascheva Gunatastri Vidam Shunu Prochyamanam Shashena Pratakvena Dunanjaya.
O winner of wealth, now please listen as I tell you in detail of the different kinds of understanding and determination according to the three modes of material nature.
Pravritim cha nivritim cha gari gari baya baya vannam moksham chaya veti bujihi sapartha satviki.
O son of Pritha, that understanding by which one knows what ought to be done and what ought not to be done, what is to be feared and what is not to be feared, what is binding and what is liberating, is in the mode of goodness.
Jaya dharmam dharmam cha karyameva cha ayasa vat pragnati buddhihi sapartha rajasi.
O son of Pritha, that understanding which cannot distinguish between religion and irreligion, between action that should be done and action that should not be done, is in the mode of passion.
Dharmam dharmam itiya manyate tamasavata sarvartan viparitam cha panchayate buddhihi sapartha tamasi.
That understanding which considers irreligion to be religion, and religion to be irreligion, under the spell of illusion and darkness, and strives always in the wrong direction, O Partha, is in the mode of ignorance.
Dritayaya dharayate manaha pranendriya kriyaha lokanapya bacharinya dritihi sapartha satviki.
O son of Pritha, that determination which is unbreakable, which is sustained with steadfastness by yoga practice, and which thus controls the activities of the mind, life, and senses, is determination in the mode of goodness.
Yajatu dharmam karmartan dritya dharayate arjuna prasangena phalakangshi dritihi sapartha rajasi.
But that determination by which one holds fast to fruitive results in religion, economic development, and sense gratification is of the nature of passion, O Arjuna.
Jaya swapnam bayam shokam vishadam madameva cha navimunchati durmeda rutihi sapartatamasi.
That determination which cannot go beyond dreaming, fearfulness, lamentation, moroseness, and illusion, such an unintelligent determination, O son of Pritha, is in the mode of darkness.
Sukam tvedanim trivedam shinu me bharatarshaba abhyasadramate yatra dukantam cha negachati.
O best of the Bharatas, now please hear from me about the three kinds of happiness by which the conditioned soul enjoys and by which he sometimes comes to the end of all distress.
Yata dad agre visham eva praniname mritopamam tatsukam satvikam proktam atma bodhi prasadajam.
That which in the beginning may be just like poison, but at the end is just like nectar, and which awakens one to self-realization is said to be happiness in the mode of goodness.
Vishayendriya samyogad yatadagre mritopamam praniname vishamiva tatsukam rajasam smritam.
That happiness which is derived from contact of the senses with their objects, and which appears like nectar at first, but poison at the end, is said to be of the nature of passion.
Yadagre chanubande cha sukam mohanamatmanaha nidralasya pramadotam tattamasam madaritam.
And that happiness which is blind to self-realization, which is delusion from beginning to end, and which arises from sleep, laziness, and illusion, is said to be of the nature of ignorance.
Natadasti prativyam va divideve shvapanaha satvam prakriti muktam na ebihi sat na yad ebihi syat trabirgunahi.
There is no being existing, either here or among the demigods in the higher planetary systems, which is freed from these three modes born of material nature.
Pramana Kshatriya Visham Sudranam Cha Parantapa Karmani Pravipaktani Swabhava Prabhavergunehi.
Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras are distinguished by the qualities born of their own natures in accordance with the material modes, O chastiser of the enemy.
Samodamastapaha Shaucham Shantirarjavamevacha Jnanam Vijnanam Astikyam Brahma Karma Svabhavajam.
Peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, knowledge, wisdom, and religiousness. These are the natural qualities by which the Brahmanas work.
Shauriyam Tejoditirdakshyam Yupte Chapya Palyanam Danam Ishvarabhavasya Shatram Karma Svabhavajam.
Heroism, power, determination, resourcefulness, courage in battle, generosity, and leadership are the natural qualities of work for the Kshatriyas.
Rishtigo Raksha Vanigyam Vaishya Karma Svabhavajam Paricharyatmakam Karma Shidrasyapi Svabhavajam.
Farming, cow protection, and business are the natural work for the Vaishyas, and for the Sudras, there is labor and service to others.
Wait. Sorry, well, there was a right one. Yeah, okay, sorry. Go on.
Svesme Karmani Abhirataha Samsiddhim Labhate Naraha Svakarmani Rataha Siddhim Yasa Vindati Tatshrinu.
By following his qualities of work, every man can become perfect. Now please hear from me how this can be done.
Yataha Pravritir Bhutanam Yena Sarvamidam Tatam Svakarmana Tam Abhyar Abhyarchya Siddhim Vindati Manavaha.
By worship of the Lord, who is the source of all beings and who is the all-pervading, a man can attain perfection through performing his own work.
Shreyan Swadharma Vigunaha Paradharma Sva Anushtitat Svabhavaniyatam Karma Kurvan Napnoti Kilbisham.
It is better to engage in one's own occupation, even though one may perform it imperfectly, than to accept another's occupation and perform it perfectly. Duties prescribed according to one's nature are never affected by sinful reactions.
Sahajam Karma Konteya Sadosham Apinatyachet Sarvaramba Hidoshena Dume Nagnir Ivavrataha.
Every endeavor is covered by some fault, just as fire is covered by smoke. Therefore, one should not give up the work born of his nature, O son of Kunti, even if such work is full of fault.
Asakta Buddhi Sarvatra Jitam Vigatasphira Naishkarmya Siddhim Paramam Sanyasena Digachati.
One who is self-controlled and unattached, and who disregards all material enjoyments, can obtain, by practice of renunciation, the highest perfect stage of freedom from reaction.
Siddhim Prapto Yata Brahma Tapnoti Nibodhame Samasene Pakonteya Nishtagyan Asya Yapara.
O son of Kunti, learn from me how one who has achieved this perfection can attain to the supreme perfection of stage, Brahman, the stage of highest knowledge, by acting in the way I shall now summarize.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sridham. I really appreciate, without you really rehearsing the verses, you recited them so well. Thank you so much. And Dev Kishan Prabhu, thank you for stepping in and reading the verses so nicely. Hare Krishna. So let me share my slides. So Hare Krishna, everyone. I've stepped in for Divyanam Prabhu. He's currently moving home, so it's been a hectic day for him, and he's requested for me to cover on his behalf. So you have me for today. I've not had the time to prepare many slides, because it was pretty last minute. So just got a few slides, but we shall discuss what we can. And since it's Saturday, we also normally chant or sing a bhajan and have some discussion about it. Today, Emma Mataji has kindly agreed to sing a beautiful bhajan called Sachi Sut Astakam. So we shall also do that. So we shall discuss a bit of text number 26, and then we'll sing the bhajan. And then, since it's the wonderful build-up for Gaur Purnima, we'll see if we can speak something about Lord Chaitanya, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we will start off by reciting the Mangala Charanam prayers. You're welcome to also recite behind your muted mics. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Panchakalpaturubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namo Vishnupadaya, Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale. Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine. Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So text number 26. Mukta Sango Naham Vadi Driti Utsaha Samanvitaha Siddhi Asid Adhyayo Nirvikaraha Karta Satvika Uchyate. Word for word synonyms. Mukta Sangaha, liberated from all material association. Anaham Vadi, without false ego. Driti, with determination. Utsaha, with great enthusiasm. Samanvitaha, qualified. Siddhi, imperfection. Asidhyo, and failure. Nirvikaraha, without change. Karta, worker. Satvikaha, in the mode of goodness. Uchyate, is said to be. One who performs his duty without association with the modes of material nature, without false ego, with great determination and enthusiasm, and without wavering in success or failure, is said to be a worker in the mode of goodness. Purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. A person in Krishna consciousness is always transcendental to the material modes of nature. He has no expectations for the results of the work entrusted to him, because he is above false ego and pride. Still, he is always enthusiastic till the completion of such work. He does not worry about the distress undertaken. He is always enthusiastic. He does not care for success or failure. He is equal in both distress and happiness. Such a worker is situated in the mode of goodness. So this is a beautiful verse. So as we were discussing previously in this chapter, chapter 18, the majority of this chapter is a summary of that which has been discussed before. And now we're in this broader section from text number 9 all the way to text number 40, where the Lord is describing how the modes of nature control all activities. In the 3 previous verses, the Lord has been discussing action in the mode of goodness, action in the mode of passion, and action in the mode of goodness. In the next 3 verses, starting with this, the Lord is describing, or at least in this verse, the Lord is describing the consciousness of a worker in the mode of goodness. And actually, if we read the purport and we examine the translation, we see that this consciousness is actually this is describing someone who is beyond the modes of material nature, because it says here, without association with the modes of material nature. So this verse is actually describing the devotee of the Lord. As Srila Prabhupada says in the purport, This is describing a Krishna conscious person who is transcendental to the material modes. So this should be the verse, the qualities and the consciousness described in this verse. This is the consciousness we should aspire for. Because this is the consciousness of a devotee. And there are certain particular characteristics of this consciousness. And there are basically 5 characteristics. So the first one is mukta sangha, detached. One who is above the modes of material nature, one who is a devotee. He is detached from the association, the non-devotee association, from those who is involved in performing the work with. He is detached from the work itself, in the sense that he does not identify himself with that particular worker, that work. And lastly, he is detached from the fruits. So there's 3 aspects to the detachment. The people around him, the work itself, and the fruits of the work. Now, one may picture, just by hearing these statements, that someone who is very aloof, he doesn't mingle, he's like floating in another world. He's working, but he's floating in another world. Actually, that is not a devotee. A devotee is very, very conscious, very diligent, and as we will discuss a bit more, very focused in what they are doing. In fact, the devotee can often be the best worker. There's one statement that Srila Prabhupada made that always resonates with me, and whenever I feel that I'm becoming, too attached to a particular situation or a particular work, or maybe the fruits of the work, I always remember this statement. Srila Prabhupada said that if we can always remember our position as eternal servants of Krishna, then we will always be in a liberated position. So a devotee performing the work, it's not that they are aloof, they're very isolated from everybody else, but the devotee can be fully involved, but their consciousness is, I am an eternal servant of Krishna. This work is something which links to the other word. Prabhupada uses a very nice statement here. The work that is entrusted to him. Very important work. The work is entrusted to him. So the devotee who works, he's got this consciousness that actually this work has been entrusted to me by Krishna. A devotee knows that everything happens only by the sanction of Krishna. So if he finds himself in some particular work or the other, the devotee considers, actually, I have this work, and this work must have been sanctioned to Krishna. So he sees it that this work has been entrusted to him. It's a beautiful work, the words that Srila Prabhupada used. And then there's Prabhupada says he has no expectations. No expectations. This is very, very interesting. There's a famous writer, I forget his name right now, but he once wrote something very interesting. He said, I always feel happy You know why? Because I don't expect anything from anyone. Expectations always hurt. Life is so short. So love your life, be happy. Keep smiling, just live for yourself. And before you speak, listen. Before you write, think. Before you spend, earn. Before you pray, forgive. Before you hurt, feel. Before you hate, love. Before you quit, try. Before you die, live. So a devotee has no particular expectation in the work itself. Prabhupada says expectation for the result. The devotee does his best, and Prabhupada says with determination. Krishna is saying with enthusiasm. Not that, yes, I have to do this job. This job has been entrusted to me. So go through the motions. No, the devotee is determined. The devotee is enthusiastic because he feels that the work has been entrusted. And the devotee works without false ego and pride. Now, we've discussed this quite often in our previous classes. To work without false ego and pride means the devotee doesn't think if they do very well in the job, that they should take credit for it. If they do very well and they excel, that they should become proud. If some result is there, the devotee considers this is simply Krishna's mercy. Krishna has given me some capacity to excel or do well. And I am simply just an agent. And Prabhupada says, still is always enthusiastic till the completion of such work. So, I mean, this can be also looked at in two context. One can be the context of a devotional service allocated to one by the spiritual master or the authority. Or it can be in some occupational context that we may find ourselves in. It applies in both contexts, just like even in devotional service. Because a devotee will have no ambition that, I'll go and I'll do my service very, very nice as a pujari. And I'm sure quite soon they will make me head pujari. Or now they're giving me a backup service, soon I'll be doing the art. No, the devotee does not think like that. Devotee simply thinks this service has been given by the Guru. The Guru is a representative of Krishna. So this is what Krishna likes me to do. I am now involved in the service because this is what Krishna likes me to do. And the devotee does the best in that service. Be it cleaning the toilet, sweeping the floor, offering arati, giving class, or whatever. And doing it without pride and false ego. Because we all know the moment the false ego and pride comes in, then it becomes more for us than for Krishna. And the devotee is always enthusiastic and determination. And whether success is there or failure is there, the devotee is equipoised. Because the devotee is thinking, well, that is the result Krishna wanted. I've done my best. I worked with determination. I've acted full consciousness. And but for success or failure, that's not up to me. Prabhupada used to say, when he went to America, he spoke to Krishna and he said, I am like a puppet. Make me dance, make me dance, make me dance. So whether it's success or failure, the devotee feels he's just an instrument. So I was reading a very nice quotation the other day. So Prabhupada was talking about a context of a devotee going to preach and maybe get someone to take a book or to give a donation. And Prabhupada said, if the person gives, we should think, yes, Krishna is within the heart of such a person, and Krishna sanctioned this person giving. So that's nice. And if the person doesn't give, or maybe doesn't take a book or doesn't give a donation, and Prabhupada says, Krishna didn't sanction. Maybe Krishna didn't want to use him in a certain capacity. So Krishna didn't sanction. So in this way, there's no consideration of success or failure. The devotee simply thinks, Krishna didn't sanction that one, or Krishna sanctioned. And this is really a wonderful, wonderful consciousness, seeing everything, whether Krishna is sanctioned it or not. And again today, by Krishna's mercy, I also saw another very nice quote, and this was by Srila Prabhupada's god brother, Sridhar Maharaj. Let me see if I can find it. Just listen to this very, very carefully, because it's quite profound. He says, you will attain peace only when you find that the final controlling agent is your friend. Very important. So what he's saying here, if we know that the final controlling agent is Krishna, because everything is sanctioned or not, and if we know that Krishna is our friend, then we will be very peaceful, because we know that the final controlling agent is our friend. Then he says, then you will have no apprehension. The ultimate controller is my friend. So my interest is well represented there. So say there's some occasion, right? And you are involved. And you know that the person that is overall in charge of that task is your friend. You feel no apprehension, because I'm well represented here. I've got my friend. He says, only then can I find ease, no anxiety. You are to find just that I am not in a chaotic environment, but it is considerate and judicious. Meaning, nothing is by chance is happening. Our friend is in control. He is considerate and he is judicious. The ultimate dispenser is my friend. This conception gives us living relief from any anxiety we can apprehend. Imagine I was just thinking today, if we can live in this consciousness, right? Anything that happens to us, we just think, yes, Krishna would have been in charge of sanctioning or prohibiting this. Krishna is my friend. Then there would be no apprehension, no anxiety, no fear. That was so beautiful, and I thought I would share that with you all today. So I was thinking that maybe I'll stop speaking here today. We'll give a little time for today's bhajan, and then we'll read the translation. We won't rush to the translation because it's such a beautiful song. Just to explain something about the song and the author. The author is Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was an associate of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Actually, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he wasn't a devotee. He was a Vedantist. And when Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu first went to the Lord Jagannath's temple in Jagannath Puri, At that time, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he was the head of the Jagannath temple. So when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he first saw Lord Jagannath, the moment he saw Lord Jagannath, he fainted. And when he fainted, everybody thought that this sannyasi has died, has passed away. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he came. He was alerted to the situation and he came. And he took some cotton wool and he placed it just below the nostrils of the Lord. And then he saw that the cotton wool was moving. And he said, no, this person has not died. And he had them carry Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to his home. And he was very captivated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He said, this is a young sannyasi, but he's so beautiful. He's so beautiful. And then when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu got up, he took care of Mahaprabhu. And the next day, there were some very, very interesting conversations that took place. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he said to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you are a sannyasi, but you are acting like a sentimentalist. You should study Vedas, Vedanta. I don't think anyone has taught you Vedanta. And actually he said some indirectly, some insulting words. And then he said, I will teach you Vedanta. And then he spoke Vedanta for many days. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was absolutely silent. He didn't say anything. He just listened to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And then when Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya finished, Mahaprabhu said, actually, I do know Vedanta. But what you've just explained is not Vedanta. What you've explained is the Sariraka Bhasya commentary by Sankaracharya, who is the Mayavadi. And then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained the true meaning of Vedanta to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And at that time, there was no greater scholar in the whole of actually the world than Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And when he heard Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu speak, he was shocked. And actually at that point, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu revealed to him shortly thereafter that he was the combined form of Radha and Krishna. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya actually saw that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was Radha and Krishna, the combined form of Radha and Krishna. And then from that time, he became a great devotee of Lord Krishna. And he composed many, many beautiful verses in glorification of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he wrote this one beautiful song called Sachi Sut Astakam, which we shall have Emma Mataji sing today, and then we shall read. So Emma Mataji, are you ready to sing?
Yes, Prabhuji. We'll read the translation afterwards, isn't it? Yes.
Yes, you sing,
Yes.
and then we'll read the translation after.
Wonderful. Okay. Thank you so much for giving me a chance to sing this beautiful bhajan. So I'll start now. Nava Gauravaram, Nava Pushpasharam, Nava Bhavadharam, Nava Lasyaparam, Nava Hasyakaram, Nava Hemavaram, Pranamami Sachi Sutta Gauravaram. Navagauravaram, Navapushpasharam, Navabhavadaram, Navalasyaparam, Navahasyakaram, Navahemavaram, Pranamami Sachi Sutta Gauravaram. नव प्रेमयुतं नवनीतसुचं नववेशकृतं नव प्रेमरसं नवदा विलसत् शुभप्रेममयं प्रणमामि सचीसुत गौरवरं नव प्रेमयुतं नवनीतसुचं नववेशकृतं नव प्रेमरसं नवदा विलसत्सुधप्रेममयं प्रणमामि सचीसुत गौरवरम् हरिभक्तिपरं हरिनामधरं करजाप्यकरं हरिनामपरं नयने सततं प्रणयाश्रुधरं प्रणमामि सचीसुत गौरवरम् हरिभक्तिपरं हरिनामधरं करोजाप्यकरं हरिनामपरं नयनं सततं प्रणयाश्रुधरं प्रणमामि सचीसुत गौरवरम् सततं जनता भवतापहरं परमार्थपरायणलोकगतिं नवलेहकरं जगतातपरं प्रणमामि सचीसुत गौरवरम् सततं जनता भवतापहरं परमार्थपरायणलोकगतिं नवलेहकरं जगतातपहरं प्रणमामि सचीसुत गौरवरम् निजभक्तिकरं प्रियचारुतरं नतनार्तननागरराजकुलं कुलकामिनी मानसलास्यकरं प्रणमामि सचीसुत गौरवरम् निजभक्तिकरं प्रियचारुतरं नतनारतनं नगरारजकुलं कुलकामिनी मानसलास्यकरं प्रणमामि सचीसुत गौरवरम् करतालवलं कलकन्तरवं मृदुवाद्यसुवीनिकया मधुरं निजभक्तिगुणाव्रत नित्यकरं प्रणमामि सचीसुत गौरवरम् करतालवलं कलकन्तरवं मृदुवाद्यसुवीनिकया मधुरं निजभक्तिगुणाव्रतनाट्यकरं प्रणमामि सचीसुत गौरवरम् युगधर्मयुतं पुनर्नन्दसुतं धरणी सुचित्रं भवभावचितं तनुध्यानचितं निजवासयुतं प्रणमामि सचीसुत गौरवरम् युगधर्मयुतं पुनर्नन्दसुतं धरणी सुचित्रं भवभावचितं तनुध्यानचितं निजवासयुतं प्रणमामि सचीसुत गौरवरम् Arunam nayanam charanam vasanam vadane skalitam swakanamadaram kurute sutarasana jagat jivanam pranamami sachi sutagauravaram. Arunam nayanam charanam vasanam vadane skalitam swakanamadaram karute surasam jagata jivanam pranamami sachi sutagauravaram. Navagauravaram Nava Pushpasaram Nava Bhavadaram Navalasyaparam Navahasyakaram Namahemavaram Pranamami Sachi Sutagauravaram Pranamami Sachi Sutagauravaram. Jai. God Hari Ki Jai. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Jai Shri Shri Sachi Sutta Gauranga Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. Hema Mataji Ki Jai. It was beautiful. Beautiful. This composition is in the Sanskrit language. And if you examine the poetry, I'm not a Sanskrit scholar, but you can just see how beautiful this composition is. Extremely beautiful. So, Emma Mataji, with your permission, I'll read the English translation. And maybe just give a little explanation now and then. So you will notice that each of the stanzas finishes with the sentences or the words pranamami, sachisutta, gauravaram. I bow down to Gauranga, who is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the beautiful son of Mother Sachi. Mother Sachi is the mother of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So in the first verse, he says, his complexion is the hue of fresh cream tinged with kumkum. So we know that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna. He's Krishna himself. Once, one devotee was speaking about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. While Prabhupada was speaking to a guest, and he asked one of his disciples to explain to the guest who is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Prabhupada's disciple started by saying, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is an avatar, an incarnation of Krishna. Immediately, Srila Prabhupada stopped him. He said, no, not avatar, not incarnation. He's Krishna himself. But because he is in the mood of Srimati Radharani, his complexion is not black or blackish. It's described here as the hue of fresh cream tinged with kumkum. That is such an exotic description of the complexion of the Lord. He is the ever-fresh Cupid who shoots arrows of newly blossoming flowers. He bears newer and newer moods of emotional ecstasies. Krishna is known as Rasaraj, the king of all rasas. And Srimati Radharani, she is known as Mahabhav, the queen of all bhavas or emotions. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because he came in the mood of Srimati Radharani, he was bearing newer and newer moods of emotional ecstasies, because that was one of his internal reasons he appeared. He is fond of performing novel dances. Novel means something new, something not seen before, something very unique. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who came to inaugurate the Sankirtan movement, he used to dance in the kirtan. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's dancing used to be completely mesmerizing. Imagine if you were to see a dancer performing movements that you've never seen and experienced ever before in your life. What a festival for the eyes that would be. What a festival for the emotions that would be. And that was Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's dancing. Something extraordinary. He makes ever new jokes that causes much laughter. We all know that Krishna, he's a big joker. He likes to joke. And especially in his youth pastimes, or his teenage pastimes, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to always be joking and doing pranks and making everyone laugh. And his brilliant luster is like freshly cast gold. Srimati Radharani's complexion is golden. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came in that brilliant luster, like freshly cast gold. Now, we don't have that experience of seeing someone in this golden complexion. So one can just imagine the extraordinary beauty of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The second stanza, he is endowed with ever fresh love of God. His radiant luster is like the color of fresh butter. His fresh attire is arranged in ever new fashions. He relishes ever new mellows of love for Krishna. He shines in 9 different new ways while executing the 9-fold processes of devotion. So something comes up repeatedly in this verse. You'll see Nava, 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 Nava. In these verses, the first 2 verses, there's a repetition of the word Nava. Because the nature of Krishna is everything about him is ever fresh and it is new. Just like Srimati Radharani. It is said that Srimati Radharani, she's been cooking for Krishna eternally. And she's never ever repeated a single preparation that she's cooked. Never, no repetition, everything is different. So one can just imagine the same with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's dressing, it says here, in a new type, ever new fashion. Every day his dressing was different. Imagine if you were at the company of somebody and every day this person would dress in a new, extraordinary way. How interesting that would be. Every day you would say, what is they going to be? How are they going to be dressed today? So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was like that. And every day a new mellow, a new feeling, a new ecstasy. And 9-fold new ways, 9-fold processes of devotion. And it is permeated with the most auspicious loving nature. This is the mood of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, most loving. So time is moving on now, so maybe I'll just read the next ones, but you can read these paragraphs in the same mood. Just looking at Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's absorbed in devotion to Sri Hari. He maintains the chanting of the holy names of Hari. While chanting, he counts the holy name on his fingers of his hands. He was not carrying a japa bead sometimes or often, and then he would chant on his fingers. So this is, sometimes people ask this question. So this practice of chanting on beads or counting, why do we have to have a bead bag? Why do we have to count? once Srila Prabhupada, a new hippie joined the movement, and he was asking Srila Prabhupada, why 16 rounds? Why chant on the beads? Why can't we just chant constantly like we want? And Prabhupada was trying to explain different reasons, but he was not satisfied, and he kept pressing the point. Why? And eventually Prabhupada says, because the Supreme Personality of Godhead wants you to. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he taught by example, by precept, and he also counted. And then he showed, he always had tears of love welling in his eyes. This is the ultimate stage of perfection. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came as a devotee. And there's some beautiful verses, and it is said that the most important verse in Srimad Bhagavatam actually has this theme. That love is only manifested that when we chant the holy name of the Lord, tears comes to our eyes. And if when we chant, there's no tears, we should know that our hearts are hard-hearted. Text 5, he motivates pure devotion unto himself. He is most attractive to his beloved servants. By his dramatic dancing, he exhibits the characteristics of the king of paramours. He causes the minds of the beautiful young village woman to dance. I bow down to Gora, the beautiful son of Mother Sachi. He plays kartals, and his throat emits sweet melodious sounds, and the vibrant notes of the veena are softly played. He thus inspires the devotees to perform dramatic dancing that is infused with aspects of his own devotional service. I bow down to Gaura, the most beautiful son of Mother Sachi. He is accompanied by the Sankirtan movement, which is the religious practice for the age of Kali. He is the son of Nanda Maharaj, come again. He is the extraordinarily brilliant ornament on the earth. His preaching mood is suitably adapted to the cycle of birth and death. His consciousness is fixed in meditation on his own form of Krishna. He is always accompanied by his transcendental abode. I bow down to Gaura, the beautiful son of Mother Sachi. So the same Krishna appeared as Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he descended with his entire abode and his associates and his paraphernalia and everything. His eyes, the soles of his feet, and his clothing are reddish like the color that heralds the rising sun. As he utters his own names, his voice falters. He awakens a sweet flavor to life throughout the universe. This is such a beautiful verse. He awakens a sweet flavor to life throughout the universe. This is what happens to anyone who becomes a devotee of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They experience a sweet flavor to life throughout their existence. I bow down to Gaura, the beautiful son of Mother Sati. So I'll stop here. It was beautiful reading and hearing the song. I'm not sure if anyone's got any comments, questions, or reflections. You can please unmute yourself and speak.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you very much for the absolutely wonderful ecstatic class actually, and the bhajan was so wonderful and the meaning is even more wonderful. It was like complete nectar for Gaura Purnima. Thank you so much. My one question I have, long time ago in the temple, I heard these two words called Bhajana Nandi and Kirtana Nandi, I think. So one who is like, you know, somebody who just enjoys devotional service, and you know, and Kirtana Nandi is like spreading the word like Prabhupada wants us to do. So I basically am kind of a Bhajana Nandi, and sometimes this spreading the word and, you know, distributing books and everything, that gives me a lot of anxiety about I'm not doing enough. And then that causes kind of, I'm not very happy then, because I enjoy just by myself, you know, doing reading and bhajan and everything. And then this like is a big task coming on my head of, oh, I have to do something. So what's the solution for this? I was thinking. I don't know if it's a...
That is a very nice question. So, you know, I've recently been hearing many wonderful speakers in the build-up of Gaur Purnima speak. And during these last few lectures, there's been a theme that's resonated with me, and that's been a common thread, which is really sitting at the moment in the foremost part of my consciousness. I'll just give you one example, which we also discussed in our Nectar of Devotion class yesterday. And it was Kartik Chandra who spoke on Friday. I'm not sure if you heard the class. But, you know, he said, if we can summarize in a few words, what is the mission of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu? If someone asks you that question, Rupa Mataji, summarize in a few words, 3 or 4 words, what is the mission of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu? How would you respond?
I think spread the love of Godhead and spread, it's like spreading. The mission is obviously Bhakti movement. It's a movement to spread the love of God, because God loves us and he wants us to come back to him. So that's what he wants. So unless we spread, it's not going to happen. So that's why Sri Chaitanya came. So yeah.
Exactly,
okay.
exactly. The mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the mission of the Panchatattva, is to distribute love. Krishna Prema, that's their mission. So, you know, when we read the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, we'll see in a few places where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu expresses an anxiety that he has. And his anxiety he has, and he expressed that in particular to Haridas Thakur. He says, how will these suffering souls in the material world be relieved of their suffering? And Haridas Thakur replies that through the chanting of the holy names, they will be relieved. And then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, yeah, well, that's fine. The human beings, they can chant. But what about the trees, the non-moving living entities? You know, what about the other living entities? How will they be liberated? And Haridas Thakur says, don't worry, my Lord. This chanting of the holy name is so powerful that even the trees and the other living entities would hear. So we see in the life of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that he has this anxiety for the living entities. And the mood of the devotee is, how can I relieve this anxiety of the Lord? The mood of the devotee is always to give pleasure to Krishna. That's the foremost goal of a devotee. How can Krishna be pleased? How can I make Krishna happy? And the devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that is their mood. Yes, I can sit in my house, I can sit in the dham, and I can chant, and I can do my puja. But yes, I give pleasure to Krishna by chanting, but more pleasure is going to come to Mahaprabhu if I distribute this love. I become part of his mission. If I take away some of his anxiety. And if we see, you know, us preaching that we are disturbing people, we are interfering with their peace, then preaching and reaching out to people, it becomes a stressful activity, because we don't want to annoy people. We don't want people to feel stressed. But if we feel we are agents of Mahaprabhu who are distributing love, we are agents who are distributing knowledge, then that just changes the whole consciousness of the activity, doesn't it? So, my personal realization is, whether to be a Bhajana Nandi or a Gosta Nandi, the devotees of Mahaprabhu and Srila Prabhupada came with that mode. Srila Prabhupada came with that mode, and with your permission, I'll just like to tell one quick story which illustrates this point. So Srila Prabhupada, and I said it before, but I like to say it again. Once Srila Prabhupada was giving initiation, and he gave his beads to the devotee, and he says, your name is Bhavananda. And Bhavananda means the bliss of the material world. So this devotee got his beads, and then he went back to his room, and he's thinking, what type of name Prabhupada has given me? We know there's no bliss in this material world, but he's given me this name Bhavananda, and Bhavananda means the bliss of the material world. This is mystifying. So he went to Srila Prabhupada and he said, Prabhupada, I'm not sure if I heard you right. You gave me this word, this name Bhavananda, and you said it means the bliss of the material world. And Prabhupada said, yes. He says, Bhava means the material world, and Ananda means bliss. And he says, the bliss of the material world is preaching. And he said, Krishna is in constant anxiety about the suffering of the conditioned souls. So the moment one preaches and one becomes a devotee, immediately Krishna feels so much of bliss. So the bliss of the material world is preaching, because it gives Krishna so much of bliss. So this is what Srila Prabhupada spoke, and this is what he wanted his followers to do. Even many of us, we feel anxiety, we feel apprehensive to preach. But the more we do it, the more Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu reciprocates. And Prabhupada once said that a devotee, if his entire life he has tried his best to fulfill the mission of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, at the end of his life, even if he cannot remember Krishna, even if he's in a completely incapacitated position, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, for such a devotee, he will force himself into the heart of the devotee at the time of death. That is the special glory of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, for one who extends himself to spread the mission of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. So that was a long answer. Hopefully it answers some of the question you asked, Rupa Mataji.
Absolutely wonderful, Prabhuji, wonderful. It's so blissful to hear that. So we are kind of trying to lessen the anxiety of Krishna.
Yes, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And when we do that, when Krishna's anxiety lessens, immediately we feel blissful also. Yeah. More bliss than if we were at home doing our own bhajan.
Definitely. Now I've understood. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments, or reflections? Okay, thank you very much for today's attendance. All glories to your service. Vanchakalpa Turubhyascha. Kripa Sindhubhyascha. Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavyo. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrindavan. Srila Prabhupada
Ki Jai.
Caitanya Mahaprabhu Ki Jai.
Gaura
Premanande.
Hari Bol. Thank you, Prabhuji. Very nice class.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.